we're going to take it to such a high level that it's going to be so obvious that we got screwed. Because every time I showed up and they saw the black face, they were like, oh, no. Taking these girls from nothing to taking them to 6 national championships. And she said, hey, I want to pitch your story. You just...
Activate your energy.
Welcome to the Activated Authors Podcast, a show where we distill the core principles of what it takes to become a happy, healthy, and productive author, no matter what stage of the journey you're at. I'm your host, Daniel Wilcox. I'm an international best-selling author, as well as an author coach, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. But most importantly, I'm a lifelong student of all things productivity, psychology, and human behavior. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Without further ado, let's dive in. What is up, Activators? And welcome to another episode of the Activated Authors Podcast with myself, Daniel Wilcox, and...
Sam Frost, that's me. Hello.
Hello, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm good. Considering I am a trained actor, I get very excited when I have to announce myself and I lean into the mic, which is completely unnecessary.
Sam Frost. I apologise if I've just realised I've just done like a really hard T into the mic. And so if that's burst anyone's eardrums, I can only apologise.
Yeah. Also, you should apologise to the entire nation of Yorkshire.
For a hard T.
Yeah.
Nice. How are you?
I'm good. I'm all right. I am fair to middling. I am middling to fair. That's how I'm at.
Nice. Bit cooler this week.
Just. I'm trying to think. I'm all right. Like, I mean, everything's fine mode.
Okay.
You know, the fire's going, and that the fire is my psyche,
mm-hmm.
And I'm just sat at the table with a trilby on,
just waving. Hello, everyone.
It's all fine.
Yeah.
It's all fires put themselves out, I hear, so we're going to be good.
Oh, eventually they do.
Yeah. Once they've run out of fuel, I'm worried that I'm the only fuel left in the burning building.
Yes.
But yeah.
Dark detail.
Yeah. Well,
mm-hmm.
Apologies, but that's where I'm sitting. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's been a busy week as per, but progress has been made. I am not yet closer. Well, I'm closer, but I'm not yet able to talk about some of the things yet. But no, it's been good. I went for Macavity. That was nice. Saw some family. I've been chipping away at the novella and have managed to get a few more words down for that and made some progress on the novel too. And yeah, just generally a bit of a, I feel like things are sustainably at the minute calming down compared to, what I mentioned last week, like the last few weeks of chaos. So I've kind of ordered some bits in terms of like calendars and whatnot, so I can finish my last bits of planning, and with any luck soon I'll have a forecast for what the next 4 quarters looks like, because I don't think I've not mentioned this publicly before, not that it's like a huge thing to announce publicly, but like, so I've changed how I organize stuff. Yeah, so I used to start off all of my big goals and everything around New Year, because obviously that's when the whole big New Year rush happens. Yeah, but I now do all of my things from April, because for the UK at least, that's when the end of the tax year is. So it just kind of makes sense to track business and personal and all the life things from the same point, because otherwise it just gets a bit jarring and confusing having like your main goals run Q1 January to March, mm-hmm. and then your business goals April till June. Yeah, so I've tied all those together and started working out that way, and so I should have the next 4 months planned, 4 quarters planned and ready to go real soon.
I'm fully on top of it.
Oh, I am. It's there's a lot of thinking, and like my brain hurts a bit, but like the good news is, as part of that, with again forecasting for ghostwriting to end, actually seeing how much extra time I'm going to have is very, very reassuring to not to fill, but to utilize. because I've spent the last couple of years going very like doing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of minimum viable product stuff that, to be fair, like I put a lot of effort into things that I do anyway. But I'd like to see what I could do with a little bit of leeway on either side. So factoring at that time, making a big push towards getting things scheduled way in advance just to take them off my mind. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So what have you been working on? I just summed up all of my stuff in one.
Yeah, you did. That was expertly done.
I am efficient.
Just very quickly before I dive into what I've been working on, my favorite phrase at a carvery is a bit of everything, please.
Yeah. I don't know if these go abroad, but Toby carveries in the UK are delicious.
Yeah, they are. They do mash. So
Potatoes.
yeah, they do mashed potato.
Yeah.
Also cauliflower cheese.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 3 different meats on the same plate.
So good. Now I want a carvery. Damn you.
Mhm.
And also my dog decided just to jump up and walk around. And now for people on YouTube, you can just see his posterior just sticking out the corner.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Uh-huh.
So what have I been working on? That was the question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do the thing where I look up, because my memory is, well, according to you, amazing, but not great on when I have to think of my own timelines. So I have
You got this.
I'm just slowly devolving on the podcast. I'm so sorry. I have, oh, I did it again. I have. I'm just really tired. I'm sorry. Okay, so I have been working on my blog to make sure that that is, as well, I say consistent. Consistent for me, which is a different thing, kind of. And in fact, the last couple of weeks, I wrote a post about kind of my relationship with consistency, which I hope kind of underlined the message going forward. But yeah, so I've been trying to, I have been, oh my God, I swear to God. I'm going to send you a singogram that slaps you across the face with a fish that's carved the word try in it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a very niche.
You talk, I'm going to think of some fish puns with try in it.
Okay. I've completely lost my train of thought, if there ever was one.
Consistency.
Oh, yes. So I have been working on just getting some kind of posts, like evergreen posts stacked. So if I have another breakdown when someone poses an extremely simple question to me, I've got that. So yeah, that's nice. I mean, I've been working on other stuff, but that's
consistency is a weird one, because consistency can mean a number of different things. Consistency basically means showing up, whatever that looks like. And for authors, I think there's a division between, so consistency can mean, for example, I'm going to send a newsletter every week and it goes out on that same time every week to your newsletter people. It could be your book delivered every 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is that you are as an author. But consistency means kind of showing up at that point. But I think what a lot of people forget is that consistency is actually joined with communication and expectation. So, for example, I was talking last week about Stranger Things. You know, they've done six episodes of this season and it came out all in one chunk as you kind of expect. It's like, oh, awesome. But then found out after there's an additional 2 episodes that aren't, it doesn't seem to be any kind of like real, like proper formula that makes sense. But because I know it's there, because I've been told it's there, I now expect it. So like similarly with consistency, a lot of the time it doesn't necessarily mean you have to, like, because I argue that a big part of the Other Stories podcast's success was that we deliver every Monday, the episodes go out without fail. And I think you know, people expect that to be there on a Monday, so they get they download it, they get what they want, and that they know that every Monday it's going to turn up. But that doesn't mean, and I wouldn't, well, it doesn't mean that we couldn't take a break, for example, if we wanted to. If we told people, okay, so this date to this date, we're going to take that break, we could cut that consistency, make it inconsistent for that period, so that we could have a break, as long as we communicated right to let people know where we are and what we're doing, so that our real fans don't suddenly go, oh shit, there's no episode, I'm out, I'm going to find something else. So I think consistency is another one of those that can be quite toxic to people who don't understand like the full breadth of it, but a lot of it comes back into expectations and delivery. Tiger shark. So
Jesus Christ. So shit. But in the best way.
Triton. What is something you've enjoyed this week?
Your horrific puns. No. So something I've enjoyed this week is playing on the Switch with my son. And I never, ever in my entire goddamn life thought that sentence would fall out of my mouth. And I will tell you as for why, because normally playing with your child from, I would say kind of like from 5, 6 onwards, it's less playing with your child and doing as a dictator tells you to. They're very much like, I say this and now you say this. And just trying to step.
I feel that so hard.
and particularly when you're like playing a video game with them, it's often the same. Like you just follow me and they're not. Then I cannot underline this enough. They don't do fun right when it comes to video games. they're not trying to get all the things. They're not following any objective other than just to run around.
Other than fun,
But I had fun, probably mainly because technically I wasn't playing with him. He had set me up a profile on his Switch and has been for a little while now been asking me to play Mario Odyssey from the beginning because I watched him play it. It was a really cool game. And so I decided today to just be like, do you know what? I'm just going to stop for a little bit. I'm just going to sit down on my sofa with my son and play and oh my god, that game is so much fun.
Yes.
I got to possess a T-Rex and I hate dinosaurs, they freak me out, but being one, woo, that's fun. Because
was it a Tyrannosaurus Rex?
It wasn't a try-hard author.
No.
But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and bless him, he's just kind of been sat there really enjoying watching it. And the thing he seems to be enjoying the most is that I'm really enjoying it. Like every 3 minutes he's like, you really like this game, don't you, mummy? I'm like, yeah, it's really
I have to.
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed answering that question the first time. It's getting a little wearing now, but sure. So that's kind of me. I actually took a little bit of downtime and enjoyed it. How about you, sir? What have you enjoyed this week? First, and don't say Stranger Things.
No. First, giant trevally. That's a fish. So
why do you know so many fishes?
Bailey loves this fish. And we play a lot of Animal Crossing together, kind of as you say, in that environment.
How's that 5-star island?
I'm not going to follow up on that. But no, we were playing Plants vs Zombies, like Garden Warfare together earlier, which is like you kind of 2 different factions. You can either be on the zombie team or the plant team. And it's that thing of the minute we logged on, he was like, "You're going to be the imp, aren't you, Daddy?" I was like, "No, I'll be who I want to be. Can you be this one?" No. Or like sometimes I'll be kind and try and do him a favor on Animal Crossing and help him out, because some fish are really difficult to catch. And like, for example, to catch a spider on there, like not a spider, a tarantula on that game is quite difficult. And so while he's finishing his dinner, because it takes him 3 hours, I will jump on and I'll like just be kind and do this bit for him. And then while I'm doing that, he's like, "Can you also do this for me?" And he'll be like ask me to collect stuff and do this mission and this mission. I'm like, no, like I'm not just gonna like spend my time playing as you, guided by you. Like I want to do things as well. So I'm kind of like in a very similar position. Like I felt that very, very hard. So my thing that I've enjoyed, and actually I'm cheating on this one already, but it's not necessarily something I've enjoyed this week, but it's something that I enjoyed a few weeks ago, and kind of the lessons have continued to ripple. And that is, I was fortunate enough to get an ARC copy of Helen Scheuer's How to Write a Series, a successful series. And it's fantastic. It really is like, it's an accessible read. It is just filled to the brim with knowledge gained from her own experience writing series, as well as other people that she's been speaking to. And I think the beautiful thing for me is, and for the listeners who used to jump onto Next Level Authors, have known that I've had like a real issue for ages on how to serialize horror, because people die in horror. It's very difficult. They're very like standalone stories are very the norm.
It was all a dream. Tune in next week for his next dream.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, and so I've had this real sort of issue trying to work out how to build a continuation of stuff, and the book basically reinforced a bunch of stuff I already knew. But again, sometimes you just need people to retell you the things that you know to actually know them. Like I think your thing is like
will be repeated until it is learnt.
Love that. I love that so much. But yeah, like the book it's educational, it's informative, it's fun. It's for someone's first nonfiction, it's beautifully written. Nice. And I think I'm not sure what the release date is. It's potentially August, but it's up on Amazon for people who want to pre-order it. But I would highly recommend that, and not in the least because she is one of our activated author experts. So Helen does jump onto calls with our activated authors every couple of months or so, and so you can talk to her.
She's awesome as well.
She's fantastic. She's such a lovely person.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if she wasn't, I would recommend this book because it is brilliant. I think there's only a few books out there that really deal with how to write series that I've come across that are quite accessible. One of them being Sarah Rosette's book. I can't remember the title off the top of my head. But yeah, so How to Write a Successful Series by Helen Scheuer.
I'm going to yawn now. My apologies.
Oh, thank you. So we're going to pull a weekly win from our wonderful activated author community.
Yes.
Sam, do you have a weekly win at hand?
I do. What I don't currently have, for some reason.
Oh, your glasses.
There they are. I'm going to put on my readers / I actually wear these all the time, apart from when I'm on the computer, because I look
all the irony
of everything. I know, right? I mean, when I'm like on Zoom on my computer, like, I don't write.
Oh yeah.
I'm not like, I don't need them for the work.
The glare from the ring light.
Yeah. No. Okay. So yes, the weekly win I have picked is from the beautiful Meg. And she says that she gave herself space to intuitively work through her mental plotting process, had some incredible breakthroughs, and feeling so excited to start work on my first fantasy book in almost a year. And the reason I chose that is just, and it seems to be a little kind of ripple and also reoccurring theme with the people in activated authors, which I think is testament to the community you have built. So kudos, is that people are celebrating stopping. Not permanently stopping, just like taking that time for themselves and being kind to themselves, which I think is something that, again, like we said last week, we're so used to kind of breaking ourselves and burning ourselves to keep others warm that it can be difficult, particularly when you're running your own business, or like just life. You've got kids, you've got family, you've got relationships. Like, it's difficult to go, do you know what, I've got a me, and that's the only thing that I can 100% guarantee for as long as I draw breath I will have.
Yeah. So
I should probably like look after that first.
Yeah. And there's such a push. Well, it's not even a push, it's just I think it's just ingrained in particular communities or the side that I've been privy to, is that one of the best metrics to measure your success as a writer is through words. That is the thing that a lot of people do measure themselves by, because so much of what we do is holistic. It's thinking time, it's planning time, it's research time, it's plotting time, it's taking a break. Like, if you try and just sit and write words and words and words for hours and hours, you're going to burn out, because your mind needs a chance to recover and to be inspired and work to however it needs to work best. And so, as you say, actually taking that time to rest, like one of them, I spoke to an author recently, a bit of a one-to-one, and I won't say who for various reasons, but one of the targets that we picked for them was specifically to take X amount of time to outline and really think about what they're doing with their book, rather than putting that as pressure straight on of like, I need to write a novel. Because yes, you do, but also planning and outlining, should that be your method, is writing a novel. And I know that when winter comes, when I wrote that, really benefited from me taking a good week to Pinterest board, because I'm very visual and need to like feel the theme and the tone in like that cover behind me. Just the colors and everything in it is very, very similar to a lot of what the broader Pinterest board was and everything I had stamped in there. And actually thinking about like some of the conflicts and where I want that to go. Not to the point as, you know, I've said this a lot of times before, but I'm not really a plotter. Like I need to know what the end is. And I need to know who the characters are. But in terms of how they get there, that's up for grabs. But enough time and space to do just that helps. And actually it's part of what I'm kind of putting into my novella at the minute, is that time to think and plan, because I didn't get myself that at the beginning and I'm suffering a bit because of it. But yeah, that rest time is huge to inspire and to write and carry on, and we shouldn't discredit that as a part of the process.
No, I think it's because so much work that is done as a creative is intellectual property, and we are taught so heavily growing up that like you can see work, so there is that real kind of disconnect when you're trying to do it. But I mean, same, like I know for me, the first nano that I did ever, and also with you, I had so heavily outlined the book and it was a joy to write. Where last nano, I kind of knew and I'd got a rough outline, but it became very quickly obvious that it was just not my favorite way to write. So I'm already looking at kind of putting in some steps to outline for this one, as I would like to enjoy it.
Coming out soon. And just on that, because why not plug, the holding page for my NaNoWriMo bootcamp is currently live on the Activated Authors website. So there's a tab at the top. I think it might just be activatedauthors.com/bootcamp. But yes, every year since 2020, we've dragged authors through Nano and taken the 15% international pass rate up to 80% of people who have written 50,000 words, including those who have believed that they couldn't for the past decade. So there's information on there that you can feel free to check out if people want to put themselves on the waiting list for when all that goes live. Guest this week, and won't put some pressure on you this week. So this week we have the wonderful Kathy Murray. Kathy Murray is a Georgia, I think she's from Atlanta, Georgia, author and also a personal trainer. She runs her own business at Fit Bodies. And the reason she was on Activated Authors this week is because she was celebrating the release of her Audible exclusive book, which was co-written, called the Munich Cowboys Cheerleaders, and it chronicles in a novella her experience of going over to a country in which she didn't know the language, in which there were so many obstacles and barriers, and took a suffering cheerleading team from nothing to 6 national championships, which is massive. So really enjoyed sitting down and talking with her this week. I suppose with that said, we'll jump over to the interview and we'll both meet you on the other side. Kathy Murray is a certified personal trainer with over 30 years experience in the fitness industry. She is a graduate of the Ohio State University, where she was a member of the 1983 National Cheerleading Championship Team. After college, she competed in and won the United States Aerobic Championship in 1986 and spent the year traveling the world as a fitness ambassador and worked as a freelance educator to teach fitness to European instructors. While in Munich, Kathy coached the Munich Cowboys, American football, cheerleaders to 6 national titles in cheerleading and was head trainer and translator for the German Gladiators during a pilot TV show for the International Gladiators. Always an avid cyclist, Kathy dipped her toe into the world of multisport in 2000, first competing in duathlons, then eventually moving to triathlons. Kathy has owned her personal training business Fit Bodies for 24 years, and in 2022 co-authored the Audible book, The Munich Cowboys Cheerleaders, based on her time coaching the squad. She lives in Atlanta with her husband, Lutalo, dog Mingus, and cat Sassy. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for having me.
No, you're more than welcome. There's so much to dive into here. And I thought the best place to start, and I think the one that will really have caught listeners' ears as I read through that bio, your dog Mingus. What kind of dog are we talking here?
We're talking he's a boxer. He's 85 pounds now, boxer pit bull mix. My husband is a 36 veteran, Army veteran. He's retired. But then his second career has been a jazz vocalist.
Okay.
So he decided we're going to name our dog Mingus after the famous bassist Charles Mingus. And then Sassy is Sassy Sarah Vaughan. So we have a jazz. The animals are named after jazz icons.
I love that. And are they musical in any sense, or is it just the name?
Yeah, they can be. You know, if he wants to. He wants to be fed, he can be vocal, and she can be vocal too.
I love it. Well, tell my listeners a little bit about how you got started on your journey towards, well, let's focus for now on the books, but there's a lot we'll dive into, but let's focus on, your journey into writing the book and releasing the Munich Cowboys Cheerleaders. Where did that all begin?
Well, it began in Munich, Germany. Well, actually, if I back up, I was in corporate America. I was a medical sales representative, and I had always been in fitness, teaching group fitness. I was obviously a cheerleader. And once I got into the corporate world, after 5 years, I just didn't feel that it was a fit for me as a long-term career, but I always taught fitness on the side. I got the opportunity at the time to go over to Europe. They were hiring American instructors to teach Europeans how to teach group fitness. And they had certification programs. So I jumped at the chance to go over and teach. And Munich, Austria, I was kind of all over Europe. I'm a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for over 30 years, and have been training my client Martha Hall Kelly, who is a multi-New York Times bestseller in historical fiction. And as a personal trainer, you have a dual role as a therapist. So we talk a lot about she was getting her first book. She was writing her first book, Lilac Girls, and she would talk to me about it. But I would also share my time in Europe and teaching. And she just thought, wow, this is a great story. Amazon came to her to write a original novella. And she said, hey, I want to pitch your story. You just have this incredible story, being all the adversity you went through and how inspirational it is. So we pitched it to Amazon. Amazon said, great. So we started co-writing in 2021. I had a great editor, and that's how the story came about. Obviously, when I went to Europe, I was asked to coach these cheerleaders who were cheerleading obviously is American sport, but they were cheering for an American football team called the Munich Cowboys. And the manager had asked me if I would come and take a look and would I be interested in coaching them. And they were doing the best they could as far as emulating cheerleading in America. And I thought, oh man, they are clueless as to what they're doing. So I love a good challenge. And I started teaching them stunts. And, again, I just moved there. So my German wasn't that great then. So we just kind of made it work. That was before Google Translate. Now it's so easy with Google Translate. I just had a little pocket dictionary. And we just worked on rules and, you can't smoke during practice. And, a lot of these things that I was, they were definitely a fish out of water. So it just became, taking these girls from nothing to taking them to 6 national championships, a European championship. So it's been quite the journey, let alone with me living in a foreign country, not knowing the language. Yeah. So just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that is massive. And it sounds like a one-up to the film Coach Carter, which obviously based on the true story of, Coach Carter. But this is definitely nothing to do with writing, but just my own little curiosity. So American cheerleading obviously is kind of like arguably the top of the cheerleading sport and profession. So I was a cheerleader in the UK for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was it was in my third year of university. I was in the Lincoln Jets cheerleadings, which was a level 2 and level 3 stunt group. And then the
Okay.
following year was part of a squad called Cobra Elite, which was again sort of like a local one. How does European cheerleading differ from the American cheerleading?
I think when they started, it's a lot better now because some of the girls ended up actually coaching after the time that I spent with them, which was great. So they passed a lot on. But I just think that back then, just learning the techniques, as you know, the stunting safely, just finding out what it takes to be a cheerleader, that was kind of something they had to learn. I mean, it's one thing, as you know, watching a video and then trying to emulate that, but really trying to say, hey, we're here to encourage the fans to cheer for our team to get them to win the game. So just those basic things. And as you know, living in Europe, I mean, everything was soccer, you know?
Yeah.
So the American football, I think it's a lot more popular now, especially with the NFL coming over, and England is a big, you know, they come and the NFL plays there a lot, but you didn't really have a lot of that back then. They did have NFL Europe. So it was Spain, some of the teams, the countries did have, but a lot of those NFL, as you know, is different because there are the dance teams. NFL has the dance girls, the dance team. They're not as athletic as the, you know, college, high school cheerleaders that we have here. It's a sport.
Yeah. And talk to me about some of those adversities. You obviously mentioned, you know, no smoking during practice and things like that, but you had this team that arguably needed to be whipped into shape at the same time that you also had the American-German language barrier. How did you conquer that? What were those early days like when it came to going to those teams and really trying to start getting to work?
I think I had to initially just say, these are the rules. This is what you do and this is what you don't do. Like the smoking. It's like you cannot smoke during practice. You cannot smoke in the uniform. So setting these rules, you know, and the conditioning. I mean, my girls were anywhere from 15 to 20. And this, you as you know, you have to be strong to be a stunter. You have to be in shape. So I actually started them with a conditioning program, you know, push-ups, sit-ups, you know, running, you know, doing a little circuit training, and they are huffing and puffing at 15. I'm like, you guys are young.
Yeah. So
just trying to get them, one, conditioned to do the sport, and two, just the practice. As you know, you have to be strong. You can't be whiny when someone's standing on your shoulders, because if that base does not hold, the whole pyramid can go down. So looking at the girls, seeing who would be in what position as far as flyers, as far as stunners, and just saying, okay, if you're late for practice, that's a demerit. That's a penalty. 3 demerits, you're not cheering the game. They've never had anything like that.
Discipline.
You know, right. Discipline. Yeah. Right. Showing up and being there as a team. You know, it's a team, as we say, there's no I in team.
No.
So just teaching them, you're only strong as your weakest link. So everyone has to come on board, and the ones that are a little slow at learning, you have to practice more. So just a lot of discipline, a lot of conditioning, and just showing them how to cheer and stunt.
Making me miss it. It's been a fair few years since I've done it. And for listeners who might be interested, I was a back, because I'm 6'1", and so I was tall and I was able to be a good base for people. But yeah, there's no in between from. So when it comes to doing the stunts and throwing people, there is no in between from sort of ground level practice to throwing people. So you're right, it really does take focus and attention and coordination and teamwork just to, you know, do those stunts. I remember we had a flyer who are the people that get thrown about, and it was the first time we'd ever tried throwing her up into a backflip. And as a back, obviously there's a lot of pressure. Obviously you have the bases as well, but the back kind of like stops them like crashing their head back onto the floor. remember the first time setting up for that and just going like, okay, so we're just going to do this on the count of 3. Yeah, just go for it. And you just have to hope that everything hits and everything goes. And I say hope, but obviously, you know, you train for that moment, but it's a big leap to take. And, you know, I don't envy you having to sort of like coach people into that position, obviously, like look after the entire squad while pushing them into that. How did you approach some of the tougher, because I'm sure there would have been people in the squad who are a bit more difficult, let's say, to adjust to the new rules. How did you kind of bring them into shape, or did you? Were they people that you kind of, you know, let go because they didn't fit that squad? What was that like for you?
I think luckily, I think that they really trusted me. You know, I'm a choreographer and a coach from America. So they were like, wow, you know, we need to listen to her. So as you know, with the stunting, we would just take one stunt at a time. Everyone would gather around just in case, you know, if the flyer freaks out, or doesn't complete that flip, you have to follow her. You have to make sure no one gets hurt on your watch. So just really breaking down who the girls are, the taller girls, the flyers, and teaching them. And it was a little difficult because, you know, I mean, I was more of a mid-section, mid-stunter. So I'm on the guy and I'm the one catching the girl on top of me. So I wasn't a flyer per se. So just really showing them this is what a base does. Because in high school, of course, there was an all-girl team. So I was the one that was holding the stunts. So just really showing them this is serious business. You can't goof off. This is someone's life. So just really, I think they really trusted me in saying, you guys, you're the bases, you're the flyers. And then, you know, sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to move people around because that, you know, it takes confidence to be a flyer and it takes confidence to be that stunter. So
and you coached them to 6 championships, which is incredible. Congratulations. What were some of the big lessons you took from coaching that squad from the beginning to such a level? Were there anything sort of stand out that you can think of that were just like lessons from that?
When they told me that they had championships, which totally shocked me, I said, look, let me see. They had videotapes of some of the past championships. And it was, they just put music on and they were moving around. You know, I was like, oh my gosh. And they would stunt, no one would be on time. They were really shaky. And I thought, okay, even if we do basic things, we should be able to do well. When I reunited with the girls to do the book, they were talking about their best stunts and best routines, and they said, we did so many forward rolls. And I'm like, because you guys couldn't do anything else. You know, I went to roll to the side, popped up, roll to this side, roll to the front, you know. So I had to go with what their level was at the time, but have it aesthetically, you know, pleasing to go, wow, that's really cool, when it was just a forward roll as a group and then they popped up, you know, and then they had the, you know, so just working on their level until we got to another level, and then trying to set the standard because no one at that time had an American coach. So I told them, when we come out, everyone's going to be looking to what we do and going to try. They had never tumbled. I taught them how to do, you know, tumbling passes. So just starting with their basic thing, doing the choreography, constantly drilling in their head. Everyone has to be one cohesive group. If you have one person that's off, because I had judged cheerleading championships, and so I knew what the other judges hopefully were looking for. So just the first one, okay, we didn't do that great. And then we also unfortunately had to deal with discrimination. Everyone wasn't happy that they had a Black American coach. And there was some unfair judging. And I don't think the girls understood that at the time. They're like, yeah, but we look better than everyone else. And, you know, and that's it. That was the politics of the judging sometimes. but just trying to be, no one drops anything. As you know, if you drop, you have to jump back up because that stunt can go up if you miss where you're supposed to be. So just constantly practicing to get them to understand this is, you have to hit it and you have to hit everything to win. With each championship, we kind of took it to the next level. So
I love that. And how, so obviously you mentioned the discrimination around, the judging and the politics and all that happened around that time. How do you personally overcome that and champion yourself to move forward in a situation where obviously it does seem disadvantaged towards you? How was it that you managed to keep your head above water and keep pushing forward, knowing that you were doing these good things?
Yeah, that was tough because you teach the girls, you hit the routine, you have your level of difficulty and choreography, and you have all these points that they're based on. If you hit it, whereas another group may drop a stunt and then they win. That was the first time that happened. That was really difficult for me because they're looking at me like, well, you said we hit the routine and we're better than everyone, we should win. And why did we get 10th place? And that was just initially just a stab to my heart. They're crying and I'm trying to like buck up and even though I'm just as disappointed as they are.
Yeah.
But you know what? It just really made me kind of just said, all right, we're coming. Not only are we coming back, we're going to come back. We're going to tumble. We're going to take it to such a high level that it's going to be so obvious that we got screwed. So once I kind of went away and, said, okay, you have to be strong for them. We just got to get back up and go to the next one and just keep on doing this.
Yeah. So
that was difficult.
And have things progressed now? Have things gotten easier, or is that still an issue in today's sort of cheerleading politics?
I don't know how many American coaches are there, but we've taught them so well. The NCA, the National Cheerleading Association, UCA, a lot of them went over to Europe toward the end that I was leaving, like early 2000s. And then the girls would actually work for these organizations in the summer. So they really stepped up and came up and said 3 of the girls are still involved with coaching. I think one of them coaches for Munich All-Stars, which is they cheer for basketball, but they do competitive competitions. And 2 of the girls actually started a uniform business because at that time, the uniforms they had to order them from America. And as you know, the European sizes and American sizes are different. So they started their own company with costumes and pom-poms and all of that. So I'm really, really proud of them that they were so involved in the sports that they wanted to make it easier access there in Europe. So that was, I think that it's, when I see the girls now, the Munich All-Stars, I'm like, okay, they really have it down, but that's been, a long time and they've stepped it up.
Yeah. And of course, much of this, all of this is in your book, the Munich Cowboys Cheerleaders. So going back through your history of, personal training, everything else, from, I say what little, like on and off, I've kind of got involved in gym and trying to keep a healthy body. And I'm back in that cycle now, joining a gym and getting back into that. A lot of that comes from, mindset, and we've spoken about discipline and things. What is it that you've taken from your kind of fitness journey and all of this with the coaching that you've taken into your book? How was writing a book different, if it was, or was some of these lessons applicable in the same way to getting the words down and kind of moving forward with writing?
I thought Martha was great in helping me if I wanted to, as you know, when you write, making it more descriptive for the reader. How did it look? How did it, was there a scent to it? How did the gym look? That type of thing. She really, really helped me think about more with the writing. We were writing this in 2021, so COVID was really high here and I was still working from home, whereas normally I would work in a gym. All my clients came online. So that was actually a good, it really helped me because I spent a lot of time writing in between clients after my day, writing till late at night. And it was just a fun project to relive my story. And I had to just record a lot. I had to go back and think, okay, so what was it like when I first got there and I didn't know the language? What was it like when people were calling me, a shit foreigner? So you had the anti-American situation also that you wouldn't even think about, and just trying to navigate every day in Germany. If they couldn't understand you when you're in line to order bread, they were like, next, and you had to figure it out every day. So I think my personality as far as perseverance, okay, so I need to go back. I need to work on my pronunciation better so I can be. So just that, I think starting from cheerleading in the high school, especially on the college level, when you're winning a championship, that team thing, the dedication, the practicing hard, you fall, you get back up. I think that's a life lesson for a lot of the things that I went through in Germany, living there, but then also trying to pass that on with the cheerleaders, but also with writing, and the editing. Well, this could be better. This character needs to be a little bit more, there's not enough content there. So just all of that helped, I think, with the writing also.
Yeah. And so getting granular here, what did the day-to-day process look like? When was it that you hit the words? Were you writing a certain amount per day? Was it sort of split between you and Martha? What was that process like?
Well, with the novella, it's only 20,000 words. So we wanted to actually have more. It was easier to have more characters and then take them out versus not, we have to invent a character or add a character. So I think the basic thing was to get the story down, what we wanted to include, my life starting in America, coming to Germany, mapping that out and how that was going to look like, and then also incorporating the introduction to the cheerleaders and dealing with my family. They weren't crazy. It was me leaving a Fortune 500 company and going to Europe, to teach for what? You have this job. And so trying to convince them, getting there, and just, again, doing a lot of taping to go back to remember, okay, this is how I felt when I couldn't get my first apartment because every time I showed up and they saw the black face, they were like, oh, no. So just going back and going, oh, that's right. I remember that, or the cheerleaders, they were teenage girls. So, the boyfriend would break up and they were in the bathroom crying. I couldn't get them out of the bathroom so just that whole experience. And the girls really helped me to remember that, to just piece, it's like a puzzle. Let's remove this, let's put this together as far as writing it. And like I said, we had a great editor, Laura Blackman at Amazon, who was awesome with helping us to put the puzzles together to make a great story.
Yeah. And how, because I've never really gone down the route of sort of memoir and sort of almost biographical nonfiction. How much of the book was fictionalized versus what really happened? Because I'm guessing there had to be some massaging of bits, or was it all pretty much accurate to how you remember it?
Yes. I think we had to have some composite characters. Annika was a composite character because I had 15, 16 girls. So I was really careful. I wanted to show them in a good light, obviously. I mean, you have some conflicts, but I didn't, and I could only put maybe 3 girls or 4 girls in the book. And I didn't want any well, why is she in and I'm not in? And
Yeah.
I didn't want any of that. So I said, let's just deal with myself and Annika being the composite character and the conflict that I had with her, because she was one of the best cheerleaders and I needed her with that, but also, you know, how to weave these other girls in. Well, the girls wouldn't be offended and say, well, is that, you thought I know you thought I had that type of attitude. So that composite character and some of the other girls were composite characters. And I thought we did a great job at having Annika and myself, Annika. So both viewpoints and going back with the base, all the things that happened with the day-to-day living in Munich, that was definitely true with said the language and being pulled over by the police on my bike and the apartment thing. So a lot of the anti-American and the racist things were true. My parents with that. So, but and then also the championships, you know, and what songs we used, which was great for the girls because they said, hey, we love this Men in Black routine, which I totally forgot about because, you know, you're choreographing the next. So when they started sending me the championships. And then that's when I was like, okay, that's right. I remember that. And so I wove, as I was getting this information for them, I would write it in the story.
It's such a strange ground to tread because I'm writing a nonfiction at the minute. And part of that is I am getting a bit more biographical than I've been in some of my nonfiction before, just because I do feel like the lessons are very, very pertinent to what I'm trying to tell.
Right.
And there's a really weird balance between wanting to speak your truth without denying someone else the opportunity to speak their truth, because obviously everyone has different perspectives, different lenses. But I do think what you've done there is a very clever balance of, you know, who are the main components in this that can carry the story, and then let's fictionalize enough that obviously, as you say, you're not then leaving people out on the table to dry, but then you're kind of still able to tell that narrative. I do quite like that approach of getting the story across.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Smart. One thing that you said earlier that kind of caught my attention is you spent 5 years in corporate America, Fortune 500 company, and it wasn't for you. And the reason I'm about to ask a question I'm going to ask is because I do know a lot of authors and writers in my audience who are they're in their day jobs, but it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't suit with them. But it's very, very scary to take that leap and to jump out and to try something new, something that isn't secure, something that isn't guaranteed, something that's a bit more creative and risky. So what was the moment that you went, I'm done with corporate America, and how did you overcome that in order to then pursue the things that you wanted to pursue?
Medical sales. I knew coming out of college, I was not a desk sitter. I just don't have that personality to go into a desk and sit there 9 to 5. So at the time, the medical sales was great because I could go to different hospitals and talk to different doctors and that type of thing. But after at least 2 years, you know how you kind of look down the road and say, can I see myself doing this in 5 years? And I couldn't. And after the National Aerobic Championship that I won as American champion, I was still teaching my full-time job with corporate America. And then in the evening, I would be in the gyms teaching group fitness. So I was kind of always in the fitness business part-time along with my full-time job. So a great friend of mine, Madonna Grimes, who was on my aerobic championship, she was already an international star that was going to Japan and all these places. And she had come to me and said, hey, we need someone in Japan for a month. Can you go? You know, my boss looked at me and said, why are you here even asking me that? There's no way you're going to be able to come out of your territory for a month. So I said, look, if you could get me something for 2 weeks, my 2-week vacation, I will come to Europe and I will teach master classes. And so she came to me maybe a year later and said, okay, we have Italy and Austria and Italy and Germany. Can you go? And I'm like, yes. So I took the 2 weeks, and one of the gyms that I had did a master class, they had American instructors. So when the other contract finished, they called me and said, hey, they want you to come to this to teach. It's a 6-month contract. They're paying you. You're going to get an apartment. It was a slam dunk for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was going into a job. I had my housing paid for. I'll figure it out. This I don't want to do. If I can get out of corporate and go there and at least have 6 months to figure out what I do want to do. This I love doing. This is a piece of cake. Then I'll figure it out. And then the 6 months came and I extended for 10 months. I was actually outside of Munich at the time. And then I just thought this is what I'm born to do, is coaching and teaching people fitness and how to improve their quality of life. And then so the 10 months turned into 5 more years. So, and then I got the cheerleaders but when you're miserable in something, I really, just when you wake up every day and you're just so depressed where you're just like, I don't even want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you just have to just step out there on faith and just jump. And luckily I had the opportunity to go to Europe, and even though my parents were saying, what are you doing? But I was working. It wasn't like I was backpacking, doing a Eurail, across Europe. I had a job. I had an apartment. I'll figure it out. And there was a lot of Americans, Canadians, so we had a little community over there. But just sometimes you just have to just jump, and the opportunity comes. And so the opportunity came, and then I just never looked back. I started my personal business there, chart training business in Munich, Fit Bodies. So I didn't look back as far as once I got there.
I love that so much. Taking that jump and committing to it. I mean, so I went full-time as an author in 2019, and I know that the general advice they have in this game is you need X amount of months worth of savings so you can obviously move forward. And I did not have that, and I was kind of in that similar situation of like I got to a point in which I was very, very miserable in the job that I was in, and I had just about enough to scrape by, and I went, you know what, now, and just did it. And that's not advice that everyone should follow depending on your circumstances, but sometimes taking those risks can definitely be the catalyst that starts to rocket everything else that goes from there. And I've said this quite a few times on the podcast. It's a quote that I absolutely love, and I finally remembered the attribution, which is a true change only ever comes from inspiration or desperation. And that really sticks with me.
Exactly.
And it's Tony Robbins that said that one. But yeah, it's one that really gets me, because either you're incredibly inspired by something, so you're like, this is what I need to do, bam, or you're miserable and you go, I've got nothing to lose, like do the thing. I love that you took that jump, and obviously like it led to so much amazing stuff.
Well, you had more motivation because you had to eat.
I've also got a young boy as well, so that was
right. So even harder than for you than
just
for
right.
me. At least I had a job.
No, I jumped and just went for it. I mean, what kind of things are you working on now? What does your typical week look like in the life of Kathy Murray?
Right now, obviously full time. I am still personal training. I'm a triathlete, so this is my tri season. I strength train a group here in Atlanta called the Atlanta Tri Sisters. So I have actually a race in 2 weeks, and then I'm just looking to write more. I know Martha and I talk about maybe a prequel to this story. Obviously I am a avid fitness person, because you just see so many people so young really in bad health, and I just think that is, these people need a little bit of a push and accountability. I always say that like 95% of my people are with me because they want accountability.
Yes.
I'm there twice a week or 3 times a week. At this time, they come on and they're like, let's do it. I always tease them and say, I'm never offended when you're not happy to see me. But afterwards, they're like, you know what? I was having a bad day. I almost canceled, but I'm here and I got through it. clients I have clients that are in their 70s and 80s also, and they're like, one lady was saying, hey, my 80-year-old said, I just got up out of my chair and my friend that's younger than me could barely get up. So just trying to improve people's quality of life.
Yeah.
So that's what my main thing is. But then, you know, on the weekends, I'll start kind of outlining what I want to pitch to my agent for the next book. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I've been bitten by the bug. So
Yeah.
You need that kind of quiet place. It's been kind of busy, and I'm getting ready to go on vacation in a couple of weeks. So, you know, when I'm at the beach and the ocean and, you know, I'm out of my circumstance, I think that creativity will come a little bit more stepping out versus when things are kind of crazy right now.
Yeah, I feel that.
Training.
And this is definitely not something I've prepared you for, but since obviously, you know, you've mentioned there about improving people's quality of life, and like sometimes those little steps help. Obviously, a lot of people listening to this are authors, and authors, being an author and writing is a very sedentary, sat down in a chair job. What are some very, very basic things that people can do just to improve their mobility, their quality of life while they're working as writers?
To just get out, step away from the computer and just walk. You know, walking is easy. It's free. You know, people say it's free. Just
I'm sold.
Walk. You know, so just start. I have a client that I've been on her about walking, and then she started walking 2 miles, and then now she's up to 3 miles. And she told me the other day, hey, unfortunately, I have a friend that died of pancreatic cancer, but they're having a 5K walk, and I can finally participate because over the last couple months I've gotten up to 3 miles, so I can participate. I feel better. It's a way of clearing my head and walking away from whatever you're doing. So definitely walking, I think, would be first. Second is moving. Second is the food. The food is, you know, I always tell my clients it's 90% what you eat and 10% what you do. You know, we want to walk and then come back and go, well, I deserve that extra piece of pie or what have you. So just really making better nutritional choices and walking. Those are the two biggest things, especially when you're sitting at your desk. Maybe even I'm sitting in a different room, but in my office, I have a stand-up desk. So I can stand up and work and, you know, stand and sit. So trying to stand up, you know, said walk. Those are probably the two easiest things that you can start with. Walking, you know, movement and nutrition. Those are two. And then if you want to, strength obviously is very important, but I would just, you know, see if you can, well, then now there's YouTube videos. I mean, everything is out there also for free if you don't want to hire a personal trainer. Or some people start with me, personal training, and they get their, you know, they get a base and then they go along and do their thing and then say, hey, check with me in 6 weeks. Or I'll say, hey, well, how's it going? You know, for that. Yeah. So I think those are two biggest things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Obviously, I'm unqualified, but it's amazing sometimes when you look at this stuff, like how because it is so simple. Sometimes I think people discredit it because of its simplicity. But I've definitely noticed that I got a dog in March, and because of that, I'm now going on a lot more walks because I live by myself now. But yeah, I've been forced to leave the desk and go for a lot more walks because I also don't have a garden, so I have to go out to obviously take her to the bathroom and things. And just that in itself, like it's helping my complexion. It's helping me lose weight, and it's also just helping clear my mind a lot more. Just having those moments to get away, and I think that is something that we very easily discredit. Is like, you know, if you're working in the office, just on your lunchtime, instead of going to another room to sit down and eat, go for a short walk, like 20 minutes, half an hour. Like it's simple, but it's very, very effective.
Exactly. Yes. And having a pet does help because you have to
get a dog or a cat.
Right. Well, dogs are a little better because the cats usually don't have to go anywhere outside the house, but the dog definitely needs to be walked.
Yeah. I have seen people walking lizards. So,
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, hey, they're walking.
Maybe a lizard.
And cats. I had one cat that would walk on a leash.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I have seen the rabbit on the lead as well once.
Oh, wow.
I tried it on my old rabbit.
They don't
and it
move that. They don't
flipped.
move too fast though.
Well, when you try and grab them, they do.
Oh.
They go nuts. But we are starting to come up to time. So I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
One of them from myself and one of them from last week's guest who asked a question, and it's kind of like a tradition that I have now. But the first question is, why do you write?
Wow, that's a good one. Well, with this first book, it was to inspire others. I get a lot of people commenting on the book that says, you know, I've known you for a long time, but until you listened to the book, I had no idea of all the things that you went through. And it really inspired me to one, reinvent myself. You know, I've been reinvented myself. You've reinvented yourself. I've reinvented myself twice, you know, corporate to, you know, fitness, and now fitness to being an author. So it's never too late. So I think the biggest thing is just to inspire people. If I can inspire anybody from my story to say, yes, you could quit that dead end job and do something you love, or, you know, you may have been disappointed in life, but it doesn't have to end that way. It can inspire you to, as I say, when you have the GPS, it'll say recalculating. Mm-hmm. When you go off to a different path, you can recalculate and still get to your end goal.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And so the final question I have is, as I say, it's from last week's guest, who shall remain anonymous, as that is how we run things here. And the question is, if you had a billboard in the middle of Times Square that could broadcast one message to thousands of people, what would that message be?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I would say, don't be afraid to jump. Trust the parachute will open. You may free fall a little bit. You know, you're not going to hit the ground.
Just tug it. Go.
Yeah, it's gonna hit. So don't be afraid to jump. The parachute will open.
I love that. It's beautiful. Where can people find out more about yourself, your books, and all that you do?
Well, my book is the Munich Cowboys Cheerleaders. It's available on Audible, and my website is FIT bodies BODIES.net, and all my social media is on there. You can contact me there, and a little bit more about me, and also you can order the book also online.
Perfect. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. But Kathy, thank you so much for spending the last 50 minutes with me. It's been a real pleasure.
Great. I'm so honored, and it's just been great talking to a former cheerleader also.
Yeah, nice little nugget there. Nice little trip down memory lane. I'll have to dig out the old uniform at some point.
Exactly.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there we are. That was our interview with Kathy Murray. So Sam, what do you think of Kathy?
Okay, first of all,
not like in a personal way. I realize like how suddenly.
What do you think of Kathy?
What do you think of her? Is she a good person?
Well, I would just like to say that I'm in love with her a little bit, actually. Yes. I got massive MJ vibes from her, like Michael Jordan. In just when the fact that she like took them to 6 freaking championship wins from like you could just imagine them sitting in the gym like 15-year-olds just. But I love the fact that she had to be like, right, okay, rule number 1. No smoking during practice. I can't believe I'm having to say this, but I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just, God, like racism, like, you know, is still very much prevalent in our society, in obvious and insidious ways. But kind of obviously, the further back you go in history, the worse it gets. And just the fact that like, people would turn up to show her apartments and see that she was black and be like, no, is
disgusting,
horrible.
Abhorrent.
Yeah. And just the fact that like the strength of character, of belief, of everything to keep going through that. Because I think we often think of like, I was talking to Barbara about this actually, that a lot of the time when, when you're going through a tough time, and particularly as a woman, and obviously I can only speak as a white woman, but you will often get told, but you're so strong, in that kind of way, which means like, you're so strong, so stop complaining because you're the strong one, which means that like you're the safe one. I don't have to worry about you. And it kind of shuts down that conversation. So when I say that choose a strong woman, what I mean is just everything that it must have taken, because there would have been, I cannot imagine that there wouldn't have been like days and weeks where she would have felt crippled and like, I mean, outcast constantly. Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So just all of that. And she just comes across as such like a beautiful soul. Mm-hmm. Although I do have one bone to pick with her.
Shoot.
And it's funny actually, because I was speaking to some of the expected authors about this recently in one of the sprints that was running, and that's I cannot imagine now or ever wishing, desiring, or going anywhere near a standing desk. The thought of it enrages me. Like, I can understand the reasoning behind it, but quite frankly, it disgusts me to my core, and I have no desire to stand up for all of the day. No, thank you.
It's your choice.
Yeah. Like most most things, when are advised by experts, that was a real sentence, and I'll fight you if you tell me it wasn't. I can see the merit of it, and I'm like, yes, I get it. But I lean on Ron Swanson when it comes to standing desks, which is I live how I live, I eat what I eat, and I will die how I die.
What a sentiment.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, I think there's so much, as you say, strength and power and beauty and just spirit in a single person. And one thing that really stood out for me in listening back, but also obviously in interviewing, is it's really hard to pull that from her, because there's such humility in who she is. Like the stuff that she did was amazing, like without argument. Like I'm a big fan of, as I mentioned in the interview, like the film Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson, and it was very much those vibes in the sense of, taking this team of no ones and springing them up. And she talks as if she's just gone out to Lidl and grabbed some carrots. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just very sort of off the cuff, like, I did this, and then she's moving on to the next thing. And like, there are certain people in life who, well, no, it's not even certain people. Times come to all of us in which we really do have a decision to choose the easy path or the hard path. And I realize that I'm kind of like paraphrasing from, Harry Potter films.
Okay. I thought you was Lord of the Rings in it, because I got a little like, so do we.
No, but I mean, the sentiment just rings true. Like, and as someone who has gone through a lot of those choices in my own life, it can get really tiresome to be on that side. And every now and then you think, oh, like this one, I'm just going to leave because I need to like prioritize me or whatever. But at the same time, I can't begin to understand what it's like to have that kind of cultural pressure as well. But like to keep moving forward, like you say, foot after the other, because if you don't, who will?
Yeah.
And like, I've got a friend of mine who she started like a social justice charity a few years back. Like we're well out of touch now, but I'm like super proud of what she's achieved. But her business is called If Not Now, When? And it's in those moments that you have to, like, because there's so many things, especially when it comes to big changes like that, and moving a team forward and getting past all of that sort of like racial prejudice and things. Like it sucks, but someone has to be that first runner, and someone has to push to make the change. And if we didn't have these people, we wouldn't have like the society that we live in now. And like, just broadly speaking, she's just an inspiration on many fronts. And as you say, like, just so cheery and so spirited.
She's so lovely.
Yeah. And we had a chat after the podcast
about cheerleading, because the light in her eyes went from about 100 to 1,000 when she found out that you cheerlead. She's so happy about it.
It
made me smile a lot. No,
some of it was about cheerleading, some of it was about like other things as well, but like even again, considering who she is, she was so interested in me as well, and it was kind of like given back. And you don't always get that from people. Sometimes people come to speak and not to listen, and she's a person who the whole time that she's talking, she's also listening as well. And it's people like that grow, that adapt, and set the path for other people. So yeah, like just an absolute honor to get the chance to chat to Kathy this week.
I think what you just said encapsulates the reason why she was such a phenomenal coach, to be honest. And I've just remembered, while you were talking, I just remembered something that she said, and I'll paraphrase. But what I really enjoyed was when, like, she told her team, if we do this and we execute this properly, like, we'll win. Yes. And then because of prejudice, they were screwed out of winning. And I love this idea of, okay, this sucks. Yes, we're going to pick ourselves back up, and we are going to be so good that if they do this shit again, it's going to be so obvious that they're screwing us over. I loved that. Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And those moments will come to us all.
So do all who see such times.
Bridges is not for them to decide. Awesome. Well, I think that brings us to a close for this week. Next week, again, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Because I've had to look up who we've got. Next week, we have the incomparable, my co-writing partner, Luke Phineas Condor.
I was wondering what the pause was about. Yeah.
I was just trying to come up with a middle name. Yes, Luke Condor will be joining us on the podcast, and it's been a few years since I've had him on a podcast with me to divulge into his mind. So looking forward to that. But yeah,
what a mind!
What a mind! So from myself and from Sam, a massive thank you to you, the listeners, for tuning in. We appreciate you and the time you choose to spend with us each and every week. And as always, if you're looking to level up your writing, activate your author career, head on over to activateyourauthors.com to find out all about our community, our resources, and everything else that we've got going on. One more time for myself, goodbye. And Sam?
Goodbye.
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 Activate your energy.
They were like, oh no,